I'd be out walking him whenever I...
Wait,
What?
Lauren, what if...
What?
I was thinking of merch we could do.
Oh, no.
What if we did a little poop bag holder?
Pickles and vodka poop bags.
I'm sorry.
I see you.
I wanted to show you Pilot.
Aww. So lovey.
Oh shit, I didn't even set up my microphone the right way. Hold on. I want to get more comfortable doing video calls because I had one recently. Okay. I had one recently and it was so awkward, and also we have them for my job and I'm just like I need to get used to this more.
Well, I can turn mine on too, because actually when I was turning it off, I was like, I'm not as hideous looking as usual.
Speaking of self-disgust.
Right?
Great segue.
Okay.
Oh, you look fine. And by that I mean fine.
Oh. Well, yeah, I mean, I went out to lunch, so I had to, look pretty.
Oh, yeah. You went with the bassist's mom.
Yeah.
Who's 94.
Yes.
We should just get started, I guess.
Okay.
But first, look.
I'm
I'm drinking seltzer out of a wine glass.
I'm drinking wine out of a wine glass.
But is it Food Lion?
Ooh, oh,
Select.
and cherry. It's the best.
Yes, naturally flavored with other natural flavors. Hello, friends.
Hello, friends.
And welcome to another episode of Pickles and Vodka, the mental health podcast that disgusts itself. I'm Christina.
And I'm Lauren.
And today we are not disgusted to come to you with the results of our pickle poll. I'm trying really hard here.
I love it.
Which, of course, was about self-disgust versus self-anger. For context, what episode number was that even? I feel like it's been forever since we've been in the normal swing of things.
Yeah, because... Ooh, that would have to be 4 episodes ago at this point.
Episode 192.
Okay.
So 5 episodes ago.
I know I just knew we were getting damn close to 200.
We are. I was actually thinking about that today. Fuck, I don't have anything planned for our 200th.
It caught me by surprise. I just saw the number on the last one and I was like, oh shit, that's really close.
I know. This will be 197.
Wow.
So let's see. After this, we have a topic episode, and then we're going to do the poll about diagnoses, and then it'll be our 200th. Woo! So I guess if y'all have anything nice to say about us reaching 200 episodes, send us a voice message at speakpipe.com/picklesandvodka. That would be so cool. And then we could play them and feel good about ourselves.
Yeah.
But before we get to all that shit, Lauren, where are you at?
Oh,
Well, this has been a rough few weeks for you.
Yeah.
Last week, we did the episode where you talked about what's been going on with Pico. And yeah, we've gotten a few responses about that episode,
Yeah.
people being there for you and all that. But
I know, you sent the one to me that was super nice.
Yeah, shout out Madeline.
Yeah.
She sent a voicemail for the very first time. She's been listening since... I remember her sending us a message about the pet episode when it aired in 2022.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this was her very first voice message. It was just really lovely.
Sticker coming your way.
Yeah, send us, if you feel comfortable, send us your address and we'll send you a sticker. But yeah, back to your feelings. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it's definitely a lot of, fallout from all of that and everything, which has made up how I've been doing the last week or so. I know, I feel like this week particular that there's been times that I've talked about in the past where I feel like there's been even, just years stretch at a time where it's been just baseline is such a low depression. And I haven't really felt that bad in so long that it's like right now I just realized I'm like, that's the feeling that I'm fighting right now. Like, it seems like it's close. And it's like, I guess I didn't care as much at that time. If I was at that point and I'd already been there for like 2 years, it's like, so fucking what? This is life. But now that I've had years away from that, then it really kind of scares me in some way, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to go back to that. That's so awful. Please don't get that bad.
It's really scary when you have a massive, I don't even want to call it a relapse because that implies certain things, but I mean, it is a relapse and it wasn't in your control necessarily.
Exactly.
But like when you haven't had one in a while, especially I feel like as we get older and we have more and more of them, it does get terrifying after a while. You're just like, I was thinking about that earlier today, reading a journal from 2023 when I had my crisis. And I was like, I was literally feeling scared for my past self while I was reading it.
Yeah.
And you're there now.
And that's what it feels like, is it's like, it's not quite there, but it feels like every once in a while it's kind of like touching on that point. So I think that's what's scary, is it's like, just that it's like, oh, that's so close, and I don't want that, because I remember how incredibly awful that was. I did want to make sure to mention, though, like, while all of that is going on, extra little shout out to some of our fans, because some of just like the random conversations that I've been getting, like Janai messaged me today. I feel like you're better friends with them, and that's probably not as weird, but they messaged me, just kind of like out of the blue every once in a while. And it's always, like, it's really appreciated. We talked for a little bit, and that I don't go on my personal Instagram all that often, but lately I've been making a point, because I started a private message conversation with Jess, and, and respond every time. And so, yeah, just having like those little bright spots.
That's
you
so
guys
beautiful.
Help us.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Ruby and Pirate were fighting. This is the first time she's been outside of the living room. I'm going to close the door.
Okay.
So she's protected.
Yeah.
Okay. The evil kitten will not reach you now.
Oh, Ruby.
Fuck. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm back.
Okay. And so the other thing that is really weird about all of this is because also, and I think this came up in the last, but if not, it shouldn't be a big surprise, that it's like all of the eating disorder behaviors came back in light of trauma and everything, like really fast, really strong. And I do feel like in the last maybe just, I don't know, like 5 days, that kind of like trying to get better on track. But it's so weird, some of the physicality of it, because like to nerd out about about like just the physical body changes when you put yourself through that is, like people that have been at like starvation levels for a long time, then, there's weird phenomenon, like you start eating more and you actually start losing weight first, because your body is just going like, oh my God, food. And, and it just like takes it all and goes nuts. It's like more.
Yeah, I'm very much.
Yeah. And it's just kind of like in the last few days, as like trying to better feed myself and stuff like that, like I've noticed that happening, and I'm just like, I was only doing this for 2 weeks though.
I mean, bodies are really crazy. Yeah,
I feel like, that it's kind of not a surprise, because, once you've put yourself through all this stuff, like historically, and, as we keep saying, we're not getting younger. And I'm like, I'm sure that's part of it, but it is just, it's kind of weird too, to experience that part. I'm like, this always meant like I'm in a treatment center, because I like hit rock bottom. So.
Well, I think you were the one that told me during my recent relapse, when you're older, it takes less to do more.
Yes.
And that applies in your case. You were talking
the
about
more often you've done it to yourself too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we were talking about drugs, but that also applies to eating, anything you're doing to your body.
Yeah.
It's wild. But I'm glad you're physically bouncing back
say
at
that
least.
the good news is that I do feel, like I'm actually like trying to get back on track, and because you don't know when you're in it, like, is this going to last a couple of weeks? Is this going to last months, years?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think telling your boyfriend helped?
Somewhat. I said when I told you about it that it's like it's kind of weird, like the older generation, like they just don't know what to think. So I don't know, we don't really talk about that then, but I don't feel like he's ignoring it either. I feel like he's aware of what I told him. He just, wouldn't know how to start a conversation.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
He's kind of being like respectful about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like, he just like listened to me and then is like, okay, out of sight, out of mind. It just feels like he's just kind of like, if you want to talk about it, I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah, but also we're going to keep living life.
Yeah.
Like that can be really helpful because I know some of my family members have been like the sort to kind of linger and hover over you and ask you how you're doing all the time. It's maddening in some cases.
Yes.
So glad he's not doing that.
He did listen to a few things I said, and I guess this must mean like I like him or something like that, because these things might
your face. One eyebrow was arched so high up.
Because I'm just thinking, like, with some people this would probably annoy me, but I know it's coming from a good place, so it's kind of cute. Like when he calls me and it's around like dinner time, he's coming over, and so he's just like, so I'm gonna ask the question that you told me not to ask you, but do you want me to bring you anything? What do you want? Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
So things are going okay between y'all?
Yeah. I mean, there is also some tension because I still don't know where we sit with him and his dog. He's going to get rid of it. Though I put it right out on the table when it came up. I was like, I can't go over to your house while that dog is there. I don't know if I ever can.
Understandable.
Yeah, and I said, I was like, he's been coming over here all the time, and I'm like, we can go out. It's great when you want to stay here. If that's how you want to solve it, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I can't go over there. That's just
I think that's more than fair.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of you, though. Seriously.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I am looking at so I did look at a few shelters around here. I just wanted to know what's out there, and I go back and forth because it is like it's lonely here, and then sometimes I think like maybe I'll be ready sooner than later, and then sometimes I think about it, I'm like, I don't think I am. But there's one here, and I think they are the perfect one that I want to work with because they have a mandatory at least 2-week fostering period for all adoptions.
Ooh.
Like first you must foster for 2 weeks and decide if it's a right fit.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I'm like, that is perfect because
that's what you needed with Meatball.
I know.
Sorry, I just keep bumming you out on this episode.
No, the thing is with Meatball, I wouldn't have known because he was still like a little kitten at 2 weeks.
That's true.
So that's a kitten. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that, like maybe I think that I'm ready and I'm wrong. But if that happens, that's what I tell them is I say, I guess I was wrong. I'll try again later.
Oh, that's, I'm excited to hear updates about that. And yeah, when you're ready.
Or I don't, but I'll know.
Or you don't, but you'll.
But
a lot can happen in 2 weeks.
It's true. All right. So where are you at?
It's been like 3 weeks since I answered this question, I realized.
Oh, yeah, because talk about it last time.
I mean, I've been really busy. I'll say that. I don't know if I talked about it, but I got a third job.
I think you at least mentioned to me. I don't know that you did here.
Well, listeners, I have a third job, not including the podcast, which I don't count because it doesn't make money, but honestly, it's a job too. So I have 4 jobs. It's editing audiobooks.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's this startup in New York. The CEO has been in publishing for 30 years or something, and they do, audiobooks. And my friend introduced me to them, and it's perfect because I get to like listen and read along and judge people for how they read aloud. And I get to work in a spreadsheet and work with
Nice.
timestamps and shit. So it's perfect for me. So far, I've done 2 books. One of them was about the racial wealth gap, and the other was about a 19th century Christian prairie girl.
Oh my.
Yeah. Very. And then the one I'm editing now is sci-fi, but I haven't really gotten much into it. But
Okay.
yeah, the biggest change that's happened since we recorded is my sister decided to move to Richmond with me.
Yes.
So longtime listeners will know Caroline. She is my closest sister in age of my 3 sisters.
Mhm.
And she currently lives with our parents. She's been in school and like working at her new job at a hospital and just saving money. And I told her that I really wanted to move to Richmond. She's known for a while. And one day she was like, what if we got a place together?
Yeah.
Just out of the blue. And I was like, wait, what? Because we planned to get a place together like in 2021, but
Okay.
she backed out because of allergies because she
Mm.
was really allergic to cats.
Mhm.
And I asked her about that. I was like, what about the cats?
Yeah.
She was like, I don't think I'm as allergic as I thought because she has friends with cats and it's fine.
Okay.
Also, I was once allergic to cats.
Yeah. See, that seems like something I've known people, like, I don't know if it generally gets better or worse, but it does seem to change.
Well, I clean a lot and I have hardwood floors and
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's a huge weight off my shoulders. Like
Yeah.
Caroline's one of my best friends. We have very similar vibes and
share the expenses.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't going to be able to afford it on my own, like to have a place of my own. And we found a lot of houses in our budget.
Mhm.
In the neighborhoods that we've been looking at. Like we went to Richmond the day after we decided just to look at neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. I'll probably cut this out, but she was like, we should do edibles. And she doesn't do drugs. She doesn't drink barely. She has no experience. And I should have been like, Caroline, no, we shouldn't do it because we're in a strange city and you've never done it before.
Yeah.
But no, I was like, hell yeah, let's go to the dispensary. And so we got edibles and we each took one. And we both started feeling nauseous after a little bit. I recovered quickly, but she just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And it was just a really bad time.
Yeah.
Now she's like, I'm never doing that again for the rest of my life. Like, I can't even think about it without getting sick.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, okay, maybe I did you a favor. I don't know. Welcome to Richmond.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of stuff happening.
Mhm.
I'm finally writing again. I wrote a piece this last week about my relationship with drugs because it's been evolving lately, I guess you could say. I've been, smoking weed again, and I have taken a few Benadryl for allergies, but I didn't go I didn't abuse it like I did in the past.
Okay.
And I only got, I don't know why I don't have to confess this.
You don't have to do anything.
I have free will, damn it. But that's the point. I've been kind of dipping my toe back into drugs and feeling guilty about it, as I do,
Mhm.
even though it is harm reduction and even though, it's not as bad as it was in the past. And so in this piece, I wrote about how guilty I feel for doing this and how stupid and embarrassed it makes me feel. And my friend Rune, who was a guest on the podcast, sent me a message that I thought I would share because it's really helpful. And it's all about why you shouldn't feel guilty for using substances to cope. I read your post and had a thought about your line of, I hate being reminded that I depend on substances to regulate my mood. I would offer the perspective that the only thing separating quote-unquote substances from not being considered that is a government label and or the ability for it to be exploited for profit/slave labor. The relationships we have with humans and pets are also used to regulate our mood as well, but it's not seen with the same lens. It's not just a substance, it's another relationship, and there's no shame in being a resourceful human trying to survive in a country that doesn't see food, water, housing, or healthcare as a human right. So yeah, that was really helpful for me to hear.
Yeah.
So I'm trying this new thing where I don't feel guilty about it, but I'm also making sure that I don't abuse that and
Well,
go
yeah,
hog wild.
because when you were talking about it, that's what I was thinking. Is it's like the thing is there's a line between, you know, when you say like it's not as bad, and I'm doing it, you know, maybe more for harm reduction and all that stuff, where it's kind of like there's a line between, are you just in denial, or is this true? Because also we know ourselves, like, you know, just because people have like past addictions, I feel like sometimes like people want to like throw that on them immediately. Then if you say something like that, they're like, well, you don't know because you're an addict. And it's like, no, I'm actually pretty in tune with myself. I'm
an expert on myself, if you will.
Yes.
But that's the beautiful thing about harm reduction, why I love it so much, is that it puts the individual in the driver's seat because it assumes that that person knows what's best for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives them agency.
Yeah.
And you don't get that from healthcare in this country.
No.
You just don't. Ugh. I feel fired up now. But I wanted to end with a segue into our topic.
Mm-hmm.
Something silly. So one of my toxic traits is when I empty the litter boxes, I take a big trash bag around with me in one hand, and then in the other hand I have the scoop. We have 3 litter boxes.
Yeah.
So I have this route I take around the house. And I have a habit at the very end of putting the scoop in the trash can while I close the lid. 3 times. 3 times in the last 2 years, I have thrown away the scoop in the trash bag. And each time, I know it's stupid, but I just berate myself. I feel so disgusted and angry with myself. Like, I was trying to figure out which is which, and, you know, because that's what we're talking about. I was like, I feel disgusted with myself because, like, why can't your brain get it?
Yeah.
Like, you've done this so many times before. Literally just don't put it in the trash bag.
I had a time, that's funny, because I had a time where I did the same thing, maybe, like 2 or 3 times over the course of a year. I would have a little thing that hung from my dog's leash that carried his poop bags. And
oh, yeah, I've
seen
those.
Yeah, it's like the top screws into the bottom and it's a little dispenser.
So convenient.
I know. But so, you know, then I'd be out walking him whenever I...
Wait,
what?
Lauren, what if...
What?
I was thinking of merch we could do.
Oh, no.
What if we did a little poop bag holder?
Pickles and vodka poop bags.
I'm sorry. I just pictured that.
I love it. I want to see it now.
I'll make a mock-up.
Okay. But
anyway, I'm so sorry.
But what I do is when I use the last one, then I would unscrew the 2 parts so that I could throw away the little roll that was inside. And there's just, like 3 times within the course of a year where I would be out and I would do that, and I would have the bottom half that I unscrewed and the little empty roll, and I'd throw them both in the trash.
So then did the bags just fall out?
Well, no, the bags are all done. Then I just have to get a new one because there's nothing to hold them anymore.
Oh, I thought you... Oh, okay, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, no.
Oh, that is annoying.
But I felt the same way after I'd done that multiple times. Like, seriously, just don't throw the dispenser in the trash, idiot.
I think it definitely leans toward... I think I would describe it as anger now that we're talking about it.
True, yeah.
But also, yeah, anger at my actions, disgust for the way I am.
Yeah, disgust that I just, like, really cannot concentrate enough to not do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's literally just our mental illness / the way we are.
Yeah.
It feels harsh to say it's your mental illness.
Right.
That's the reason you're disgusted at yourself.
That's why you throw litter scoopers in the trash.
Because you're ill. Your brain is wrong.
Yes.
Anyway, let's go to the poll results.
Okay.
Oh my god, when I minimize the Riverside window, it stays in the corner.
Oh, okay.
That's so cool.
All right.
So, our question, who knows how many weeks ago, was, what does self-disgust look like for you, and how does it differentiate from anger? So we have, I think, just one comment and one voicemail.
Okay.
Unless we've gotten any on Peach in the last hour.
I just looked before I came on and I didn't see any, but I did see
Okay, cool.
someone noting that we had a voicemail.
Yes. First time voicemail leaver.
Yes.
So we'll start with the comment because we were just talking about this person. It's from Madeline.
Okay.
And she says, I'm probably too late for the poll.
Never.
This was 2 weeks ago, mind you. But here's my thoughts. To me, disgust is more visceral and usually a knee-jerk reaction. While hate is a little more objective, I find the smell of dead worms on the sidewalk after a big rainfall disgusting, all in caps, while I hate snow in my boots. I'm not sure it matters whether it's self-disgust/hate or just disgust/hate. It's all kind of pedantic, but I don't think disgust and hate are interchangeable. Thank you guys for always being you.
Oh.
Oh, thank you for always being you,
Yeah.
Madeline. But yeah, I also don't agree that they're interchangeable.
No. It made me, though, kind of wonder, is there some overlap? They're definitely not the same thing.
Well, there is overlap. I think that's the whole reason we're talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm picturing an amoeba, swirling around.
Yeah.
I feel like it changes. One can turn into the other, maybe, and vice versa.
That's true. Or, one can kind of precipitate the other.
Well, okay, the example she gave of snow in her boots
Yeah.
is a good one. Because when I was thinking about it, I was like, wait, does that disgust me or does it make me mad? Both.
True.
Sometimes.
I mean, I guess, the wet, cold feet is the disgust part.
Yeah, and just the sensations.
Yeah, but just angry that it happened.
Yeah.
That kind of goes along with what we were just talking about with our pet things. It's just,
exactly.
just angry that it happened. Why?
Why didn't I wear a fifth pair of socks?
Yes.
Yeah, or that. Yeah, what did you think about her statement? I'm not sure it matters whether it's self-disgust/hate or just disgust/hate. I'm not quite sure what she meant by that.
Yeah, I guess I was trying to think of some of the stuff that we talked about as self-hate and self-disgust and the rest.
I also think it's interesting that she used the word hate so often.
Yeah.
When we never said the word hate.
Yes, I
what does
noticed
that mean,
too.
Madeline? Is there something you want to talk about? But I mean, we could just talk about hate also. How would you discern hate and anger?
Yeah, now I'm trying to think, would I find a difference between those two? Because I'm sure there is.
I mean, hate is a very strong word. I would say anger is a normal emotion.
Yeah, because I was going to say anger, I feel has some healthy qualities to it. You definitely should experience anger. Yeah,
it's a core emotion, like we talked about on that episode. Mm-hmm. But not everyone has hate.
Yeah, I would never tell somebody, it's healthy to hate sometimes.
No, never.
It does interest me thinking about that. I feel like it's really hard for me to come to hatred. That's...
Well, I would hope so.
That's not...
Well...
yeah, I was going to say, we've seen plenty of people that it seems really easy.
Well, yeah, is there such thing as warranted hate? I mean, I hate the policies of Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. Kind of just hate him.
Well, yeah.
I'm not really... I know that I almost feel bad about that because I don't like hating people, but...
No, I think it's fair to say that I hate Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, is that warranted? One might say that, hating Donald Trump doesn't really accomplish anything. What accomplishes things is me educating myself on said policies and looking up ways to protect my friends and myself.
Yeah.
And, so you might argue that hate isn't productive, whereas anger, I think, can be productive, like you said.
That's a good way to put it.
Does that make sense?
It does to me. And I mean, to bring it back to the stuff we talked about last week and up top on the episode, that's something that I had to think of too when I was having conversations with the boyfriend about his dog, that it's just kind of it'd be really hard for me to hate an animal too.
Of
because they don't know what they're
course.
doing. And that's what I thought as I was like, do I hate this dog? No. But I might be moving towards anger at him.
Well, if you're not already.
Well, I don't think I was at first because I was in shock. You know, like at first, yeah, I just like felt nothing. So I couldn't, like, I didn't even know that I was. And, you know, now as it goes on, then I was like, yeah, okay, you know what? I actually feel some anger at this dog. And I don't see why that's a problem. But
It's not.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, but I did think that I was like, but I don't hate him.
yeah. Yeah. And maybe it's because I grew up so evangelical, but I feel like for me, hatred is kind of almost a triggering word because I associate it with the Christians that I grew up with.
Oh.
And like that's what I think of when I hear hate. I hear this is going in a very interesting direction.
Yeah.
We've gone so far off topic.
I know.
But we can because we
Yeah.
didn't get too many responses.
Okay.
Fuck. Yeah, it's like, you know, hate the sin, love the sinner,
Yep.
that sort of thing.
Mhm.
There's a ton of Bible verses about hate. I mean, just for shits and giggles, Bible verses about hate.
Which is interesting because, you know, even though it's always interesting to me, even though there's some similarities, there's differences in how we were brought up, like religiously. Because I know when I was young, then that was the same thing as like saying a swear word. Like my mom did not want us to say hate.
Same. We weren't allowed to say hate either.
Yeah.
Which, would you say the opposite of hate is love? Because people always like equate the two.
I think no, but the problem is I don't know what I would say is my opposite of hate. Like I can come up with alternate opposites of love, like love, apathy.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Sorry, that was random.
No. Like you said, we can do it. We're allowed.
Yeah, like this is a psalm. Psalms are supposed to be nice and poetic, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you who love the Lord, hate evil. He preserves the lives of his saints. He delivers them from the hand of the wicked. This one's kind of weird. If the world hates you, know that it has hated me before it hated you.
Oh.
John 15:18.
Okay. Though you did remind me then, like, yeah, that was something because we weren't allowed to say it. I don't remember how this whole conversation went because, you know, I was probably like 6. But I knew that I couldn't say hate, and then I saw it in like the Bible, and that's what I remember telling my mom, like, is this okay? Because they're saying to hate these things, and we're not supposed to hate. I'm sure she had, some bullshit explanation.
Yeah, and that was the first time that you found a discontinuity in the church.
And it continued to this day.
Yeah. Hot take. But yeah, let's go back to Madeline's voicemail. Is there anything else to say about Madeline's voicemail? It is kind of pedantic. Like, we could go around and around and around about, like, the definitions.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, and I was really glad that she did, like, use hate so much because of all the things it brought up. Even though we didn't say hate.
Exactly.
That was really
and Madeline, I don't know how you were raised, if you were raised also in like a religious environment or if you're religious now. Like, I don't know, but I feel like in at least the extreme religious environment I grew up in, there's a lot of black and whites.
Yes.
So like there's no anger, there's just hate.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah. Thank you for sending in your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
We love hearing from you. And yeah, send me your address so I can send you a sticker. Okay, so we have a voicemail that I just realized I forgot to upload. So I'm going to do that real quick. So this is from someone on Peach that I actually met at Dawn's funeral.
Oh.
Back in last January.
Little random thing.
Please.
This person also once on Peach. First of all, they have great style. And
agreed.
Yes. And
200%.
Yes. And was cleaning out their closet once and actually sent me clothes.
What?
And I'm wearing her shorts right now.
Shut up. Wait, I want to see. Well, you could just describe them, but oh my God, they're so colorful.
They're orange.
I love your fit, by the way.
Thanks. I liked it
so
too.
springy.
Yeah, it's like 80 degrees here, so.
Yeah, Lauren is wearing red shorts and a floral top and a burnt orange cardigan.
Yes.
That matches the flowers, and it's just so beautiful. Anyway.
Maybe I'll try and take a picture. You can post it.
Okay, so this is from that person.
That's actually like a really interesting question because I don't think I've ever stopped to think about the difference between anger with myself and self-disgust. And I kind of wished my therapist had ever asked me this question. But I feel like maybe for me the big difference is disgust feels like more of a permanent feeling, or not permanent, but like an ongoing state, where self-anger, it's usually a quick in response to something that I've perceived that I've done wrong, that I wished I'd done differently, or that I'm very upset with myself about. Whereas I feel like any self-disgust kind of just lingers, and it sticks around. It's more of a constant state because it's more of a response to accumulation of maybe errors or flaws about myself that I'm displeased with, versus anger just being very reactionary.
That was a good take.
Yeah, I know. It was really good. I mean, what are your thoughts?
The first thing that I thought, where I was jotting down, like disgust is permanent, anger is a response. As I was like, yeah, disgust is more like a personal attack on yourself. Is how
Totally.
it sounded like when she was talking. That like anger is it's more of a reaction, and it doesn't feel as personal. If you get angry at yourself, it's just like, why did I do that? And it's just kind of like, then you move on.
Well, you can't control when you get sad, for instance. You can't
Right.
control like when you get tickled by something. Like you can't control it when you get angry at something. It's just a reaction.
And it feels like most people automatically give themselves more grace for getting angry at themselves. That it's just
it seems it's such a common, like when I say it, I'm like, well, duh, it's an emotion. How can you be angry at yourself for having an emotion? It's involuntary.
Right.
But literally, I was raised to think it was a sin.
Right.
Like one of your emotions is a sin.
Yes.
What the fuck? I'm just now realizing this. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that does make sense. It was so interesting when she said that disgust is a culmination or an accumulation of all of these like flaws, or, self-perceived flaws or whatnot. I'm picturing just like a piece of wood with barnacles all over it. And you know how you get like all of the different layers of barnacles and it's all crusty and gross? That's kind of what I'm picturing. Because I feel like my body dysmorphia right now, for instance, it's not so bad that I'm like doing things like binging and purging and starving every day, but it's just bad enough that like every time I look in the mirror, I think a bad thought about myself. And I might not focus on it all day, but I thought it.
Yeah.
Even if afterwards I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have thought that. That's silly. I still thought it. And it just builds up and builds up. And then one day I wake up and I'm like, I fucking hate myself.
Yeah.
Like this week. That's how it's been for me this week. And that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the accumulation thing. Also, so I just had this brilliant realization when you were talking about being raised without anger that I hope you like, because I was thinking of it like, so like self-anger, you're usually angry at something you did, and disgust is you are angry at who you are as a person. And what just kind of like blew my mind, at least, is when you were saying like, well, I wasn't allowed to feel anger, and I was just like, oh yeah, so as we've said, you can't help it because anger is an emotion, but you were taught it was a sin. So by being not allowed to feel anger, that was creating self-disgust.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I gotta go journal now. Sorry, y'all. I'm cutting this short. Holy shit. And then you're disgusted with yourself. I'm like excited, so I'm talking really fast. You're disgusted with yourself for feeling the self-disgust.
Yeah, because
which wasn't your fault.
That also, I'm sure you felt as bad.
It's funny we were just talking about hate, because I listened to this podcast called I Hate James Dobson. If you know, you know. Okay. He was very influential to my parents growing up about how to discipline children and purity culture and all that stuff. Anyway, this podcast is a queer ex-evangelical therapist now and he's telling his secular coworker about life growing up with James Dobson principles, and it's so funny and also so traumatic. So today, I was listening to an episode today about how he deconstructed, and he was talking about when he was closeted and self-harming because he felt so disgusting just at his core, and he kept listening to this Skillet song. It's a Christian metal band.
Okay.
Ever heard of them? Called Monster. And he read the lyrics, and it's just like, there's a monster inside of me, like it's destroying me, like I gotta get it out. And then it's me, like the monster is me. And that's how I had like a really emotional moment listening to this, which is why I'm talking so much about it. But yeah, the self-disgust is so powerful because it is like tied to who you are.
Yeah.
And you can act like the best person in the world, but like you're still disgusting at your core.
Yeah, and then you just end up like feeling like a fraud if you're trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I feel like I'm tricking
it's pretty
all my
damaging.
friends
Yep.
into staying with me. Everyone's just pretending they like me. Yeah, we'll stop there, but
Wait, something is creating a prism because you have beautiful rainbows behind you.
yes, I have rainbow film on my windows. They're private, like
cool.
a privacy film.
Yep.
You can still kind of see like vague outlines through it, but this is my favorite time of day, golden hour, because it makes rainbows.
I love it.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and anger, you were talking about like when you're not allowed to express anger. You've actually recently talked about that in regards to your family.
Yeah, how I don't think that I was even aware. And I think it's because of that. Like, I don't know if it happened by accident or what, because we weren't like told not to. We just didn't. And it's kind of like I had a therapist make me aware of that. And then, started exploring like, I guess, I wasn't shown anger and I don't know how to express it. And, what I was talking about is then actually had a therapy session that my brother sat in on, and he, with us having never talked about it either, because it didn't come up in our family, he 100% agreed. The therapist asked him, how did your family show anger? And he's like, my family didn't show anger.
Exactly.
He cracked up. He was like, that's funny.
Well, and what does that do to a person who's never allowed to express anger, especially a child?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it can go different ways. I mean, I can't say for certain, but I did grow up with my brother and we're fairly close. Like, he does not seem to have any like major issues resulting from his upbringing. So, I mean, I guess, you can come away unscathed, but I still...
No one's unscathed.
Yeah, but I still wouldn't say it's healthy just because some people get lucky and they don't end up super fucked up from it.
And also, I mean, this is not to create a self-fulfilling prophecy or anything, but I feel like some people are just waiting to snap. That's very, what's the word? Biased.
Yeah.
But I truly think like everyone has anger, and if you like, I'm sure it's been scientifically proven it's bad for you physically.
Yeah.
Like suppressing anger.
And honestly, like going back to the thing with my brother too, what I would think is like from the little things I've heard is I think that he was probably like struggling a lot more mentally like in his teen years. And, I thought we were close, but again, it's nothing we talked about.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a dude. I feel like, back in the 80s when you guys were teens or whatever?
He was, I guess, in the 80s.
Yeah, like guys didn't talk about their feelings back then. No, like I have a lot of sympathy.
And I know he had a lot of trouble because I've also talked about like the town we moved to, I would have been in second grade then. And that's the one that was just like everybody, like even adults who have moved there are just like, they are unusually closed off and not interested in letting outsiders in. So, I had a hard time with that in second grade when kids in general are pretty open, and I still struggled with it. And, because again, I was 8, 9 years old, I wasn't like focused on my brother's inner feelings or anything at that point. But I think of it today and I'm like, oh shit, if I was in second grade, he was in 8th grade trying to navigate that. And if you've got people that already are just like, we don't like you because you didn't grow up with us and you're an 8th grader,
Yeah.
No wonder he went through some shit.
Yeah, that's sad. Didn't you say you wanted to start getting more in touch with him?
Yeah.
It was like forever ago.
I know.
I was just wondering, I mean, not to shame you if you haven't, but I was just wondering if you had talked since then.
We haven't, but I did, when I got a text from him, I told him, and I told him specifically, like, I didn't tell my parents how Pico died, and it's because, like, him and I have talked, and we are more on the same wavelength about, like, being understanding about certain things. And I said, like, this is why, but, I feel like I can tell you. And I was just like, it was pretty traumatic and everything. And, and he was really sympathetic towards that, of course. But I think he understood, too, why I didn't want to necessarily tell my parents.
I'm really happy. I'm not happy. Happy's not the right word. I'm glad that you got to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
Like, you need someone in your family
I knew
to know
one
what's going
family
on.
member would have a good reaction. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about that voicemail?
I think so.
I was going to say something else about anger. Oh, I mean, I don't really feel guilty tangenting on this episode.
Yeah.
But speaking of James Dobson, he wrote a book called The Strong-Willed Child.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have. Okay, I didn't know the name, but I've heard of that.
That was him.
Okay.
Yeah. So my parents read it when we were growing up, and I've been doing this filing project for my dad. He pays me the last 2 weeks to file for him, and I found a file folder that was called The Strong-Willed Child, and inside it was an email that had been printed. It was some newsletter, and this mom was writing in to ask, my son is so strong-willed. He gets angry so often, and people just tell me, oh, he's hyperactive. But he's not hyperactive. He just wants control. And he's 7 years old. And I'm thinking about when you're talking about growing up and not being able to express anger, because you'd think that's a normal thing kids do. But I wouldn't know, because when my brother, I'm thinking of one brother in particular, he did express anger a lot and he got punished for it.
Yeah.
And it affected his life. His whole life, he's been treated like his anger, his righteous anger is just a bid for control.
Mm-hmm.
And his life is not the life of someone who is in control.
Yeah.
Just like my life isn't. And I've never expressed anger. And I'm trying to form a connection between the two.
I don't know, but I was thinking also of course a 7-year-old wants some control. A typical 7-year-old has no control over shit. If they're just trying to get it somewhere, I think anger is a natural human reaction. Yeah.
Yes. I think anger in some ways can be a way to get control. Or you're angry that you don't have control.
Yeah, you act out because you don't, and it's frustrating you. It all makes sense to me.
Yeah, I was going to say we should end with some more examples from our lives. The most obvious one is being angry when you don't lose weight, or if you don't. Well, I mean,
when you don't look the way you want.
Even for people without eating disorders, you see that a lot. People get legit angry at themselves for not being able to stick to a diet or not walking the right amount of steps.
Yeah, how many times do you hear about people on diets, the typical one that is so annoying, where it's oh, I, gave in and had this dessert this weekend. I was bad.
Mm-hmm. It's so messed up.
There's a comic strip, I know, someone that does things on stuff like that I always think of, that it's someone said I'm being so bad, and and she's eating something and the other girl's for God's sake, you didn't burn down an orphanage, you're eating a cookie.
Seriously though. Yeah. I think I've definitely there's been times when I was a teenager, I mean, trigger warning, I used to self-harm because of how I looked, or because I was angry at myself for doing something. And at the end of the day, it accomplishes nothing.
Yeah.
And, same for anyone who's trying to lose weight or look a certain way. Being angry at yourself doesn't do anything. You should be angry at maybe the forces that be that made you be angry at yourself in the first place.
Yeah, and I was thinking of that too when you said that. I was oh yeah, because I also have, some history of self-harm, and you're right. I was angry at things that had happened, and it would usually be something, let's say I was supposed to go out with friends and then like none of them called me and I didn't hear from them. So, you know, I'm upset as one would be, but I immediately think like it must be because of something I did. So I deserve to be punished.
Yeah. I mean, makes sense to me.
Well, yeah, I think that's why a lot of people do things like that. But it is really, it's just like, no, it's just a thing that happened. And if anything, maybe you should be angry at them for ignoring you.
Yeah. It's like we talk all the time about how attention is not a dirty word.
Oh, sorry.
Anger
That
is
was the rest of that thought.
Ooh,
is what
tell me.
I was thinking. It reminded me of, because I was definitely raised in the era where, you know, you go to your parents and you say like, so and so pinched me, and they say, well, what did you do to make them pinch you?
Whoa, you're right. What the fuck? I'd be angry too.
Uh-huh.
And then they think you're being angry to get attention.
Yup.
Well, at least for like little girls.
Yeah.
As a former little girl.
Yes.
I was thinking, since we were talking about self-harm and anger, well, we've been talking a lot about anger, and I also want to end on disgust. Like,
Mm-hmm.
is there righteous disgust? And also, we'll save that question. I feel like I self-harmed to express anger, and I feel like my eating disorder was a way to express disgust.
I felt like self-harm hit both for me when I was thinking about it. Because I definitely would out of disgust too, because, you know, sometimes there wouldn't be something that would precipitate it. I'd just be like, I can't stand who I am.
Yeah.
And so I want to make myself uglier.
That is a way that they do intersect. I mean, going back to when we were reading Madeline's comment,
Oh, yeah.
I think,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, with certain mental illnesses, I hate saying that.
I know.
But like with certain afflictions, I think.
Can we have a list of words that we hate? It's like triggers, recovery.
Yes.
Females.
Oh as a noun.
Yes.
Mental illness. Oh my god. But I don't fucking know
Yeah.
what I was gonna say. I'm sure I'll remember when I'm editing this.
Mm-hmm.
But this has been a rollicking discussion.
Yeah, I loved that we just had like little jumping off points, and jump off we did.
So Easter is this weekend, and it's on 420.
Ah.
I'm excited about that.
Oh, good. I get to be high for Easter.
I mean, how else would you spend Easter, honestly? As a heathen.
Well,
as an angry heathen.
Yeah. I was going to say, I might not have thought of it because I'm not someone that partakes regularly, but I'm not going to miss 420. So.
I mean, whatever. It's whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to think of any housekeeping we have before we let them go. I fixed our merch page so you can now order multiple quantities of our stickers.
Do I need to order a sticker so I can get one? I
sent you them. They're in the mail, bitch.
Awesome. I heard the mail come earlier. I wonder if they're here.
Well, you should go check. But yeah, or you could just send us a voice message and not pay anything. So yeah, we have one poll that is due in 2 weeks, and it is, how do you feel about your diagnoses, essentially.
And your topic next week?
Yes, okay. I will be coming in hot with a topic of my choosing next week.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I hope everyone enjoys spring.
Yes. And is surviving.
Bye. Oh, and what?
And is surviving.
Oh, yeah, that too. I hope everyone's surviving, I guess.
I guess. All right.
Bye. If you like what you heard, tell a friend about the podcast. You can send them to picklesandvodka.substack.com, where they can listen to our entire catalog and find our newest merch. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us a voice message at speakpipe.com/picklesandvodka. My personal Instagram is at xtinajumper, and Lauren's is at Lauren3_AFH. We'll see you next week.